Hello, it's Dr. Hoven, and welcome back. I hope you had a great break and we're really looking forward to this new year. Speaking of that, as we start this new year, remember that we're still in first semester. And if you made a choice to change from virtual to in-person learning or vice versa, remember that that won't begin until the new semester starts on January 25th. As we approach the start of second semester, we're also planning ahead for next year. And based on feedback and results so far, we're excited to announce that we're still going to offer virtual education next year for families and students who are interested. Those results we've seen so far have been very promising. We've seen that through the first semester, our virtual students have achieved on par with our in-person students. And we're going to keep an eye on this data as we go through the rest of the school year. As part of our planning for next year, high school registration begins tomorrow, January 8th, and middle school registration begins about a month from now. One of the questions you'll find when you register is to ask whether or not you wish to be a virtual student for next school year. We understand this is an early time to ask this question, so I want to clarify. This is not about COVID. This is simply asking if, regardless of the COVID situation, you prefer to be a virtual student for next year. Later on, as we get closer to the school year, we will provide families another chance to make a decision based on the COVID situation at the time. So for now, all we're asking is that if you know for sure you want to be a virtual student, to select that option now. That would be independent of the COVID situation. If you would like to wait and see where COVID details are at that time, we would ask you to choose in person when you register right now, knowing that you will have a chance later to make that change. Another topic I want to spend a few moments on is the new modified quarantines. Recall that after Thanksgiving break, we began this new modified quarantine process, which meant that if staff or students were in close contact at school, where everyone was wearing masks, that those individuals would be allowed to continue attending school rather than being quarantined at home. One of the things we promised when that new change took effect is that we would closely monitor these cases to watch to see if there's any spread happening within our buildings. What we've seen both before the modified quarantine and since is that only about 1% of our close contacts have eventually been positive for COVID. We are still seeing the vast majority of our cases are coming from outside our schools, and that the modified quarantine changes have not had any negative impact on COVID spread within our buildings. I do want to clarify that under the modified quarantine, students or staff who are positive for COVID will still isolate at home as they have all along. In addition, students or staff who are in close contact in times when masks are not being worn, that might be at lunch, it might be at practice, it might be in a car on the way to school, those individuals would still quarantine as they have before the modified quarantine took effect. We've also heard questions about any CDC recommendations around quarantines. Anytime the CDC makes a new recommendation, our health department takes a look at that and makes a determination about how those recommendations impact our county. So we work closely with them to understand the effects of any of those changes. So at this point, the most recent change we've made is the modified quarantine rules, and anything else that comes from the CDC, we will work with our health department to understand the impact for us. As we have said all along, we will continue to monitor very closely the impacts of this data, watching for any spread that appears to be happening within our buildings. And we are prepared to make changes and go into temporary closures if we see any negative effects of that. We will continue to watch this closely, and then we invite you to watch along with us. Our dashboard will be updated again tomorrow, January 8th, and it does now include individual building data. We know that there are lots of questions about vaccines. In Missouri, healthcare workers and some others are on Tier 1A. School personnel are on Tier 1B. What that means is that we are working closely with our health department to get those vaccines available for our staff as soon as possible. We don't know exact timelines, but we are optimistic that it is coming soon, and we will continue to be in close contact with the health department and will communicate as soon as we have more information. Given our focus all year on COVID, I want to remind you that 2020 was not all bad. For the first time in district history, Francis Howell School District was named to the top 10 of Niche.com's rankings of best school districts in Missouri, coming in at number 8. Francis Howell High School became our latest school added to the National Blue Ribbon Schools list. And Prop S, the biggest school bond issue in the history of Missouri, passed overwhelmingly last summer, so thank you for your support on that. This school year has seen both our virtual students and our in-person students achieve at levels remarkably similar to past years. So given all of the challenges we've seen, I really want to give a shout out to all of our students, our families, and our staff for overcoming all of these challenges to make sure that our students are as successful as they have ever been. We want to continue to be here for your students both in person and virtually, but we need to ask you to continue to do your part to help us make that happen. Please wear your masks, socially distance, keep students home when they are sick, and keep in mind that even outside of our school walls, we're asking everyone to continue to follow all the safe practices. We'll continue to be here for you, but with your help, we will show that we are better together. Thanks for watching.